Hello everyone, I am Dr. Nisha Kumari, Assistant Professor at School of Business, Aditya University, Surampalem. Today we are going to explore design thinking. By the end of this particular lecture, you will be able to achieve the primary learning goals, such as you will be able to understand the concept of design thinking, its characteristics, and how the different stages of design thinking are helping to balance the desirability and the viable business solutions. Now coming up to the overview of design thinking. So when we talk about the design thinking, the main thing is that it helps in the providing the solutions which are directly or addressing the user's needs. And it is an innovative approach which prioritizes the understanding of users rather than simply generating the business or the business ideas. So when we are talking about the design thinking, first thing is that it is integrated. It integrates human research and solutions which are addressing the problems, or you can say the pain points of the customers. So here when we are talking about design thinking, it is an entire process. It is a process which follows some certain steps, and by following those certain steps, we are able to address the consumer's real needs rather than the simply coming up with a specific business idea and entering in the market. So the main characteristics of the design thinking is that first thing is that it is human-centered and empathy-driven, means we are trying to understand the real pain points, the challenges or the barriers which users are facing or the customers are facing in some certain scenario. Second one is iterative and experimental. So it's where in the design thinking, what we are doing after understanding the consumer's needs or their pain points, we are coming up with some kind of solutions, and those solutions we are not directly implementing in the market, but first we are testing and we are creating some prototypes, and we are testing those things with the customers, and based on their feedbacks and their experiences we are going to come in the market. So that's why it's iterative and experimental. Third one is collaborative and multidisciplinary. In this, what is happening, all the engineering department people, design teams or marketing teams, everyone is coming together, and they are in that entire process, they are together and they are trying to understand the users, and based on those needs or the pain points they are coming up with the solutions, and later part all together they are coming working on that particular identifying the solution as well as implementation of that particular idea. So that's why we call design thinking as a multidisciplinary, because here each and every departments have their own role and they are coming together and coming to create some kind of specific or certain solution or feasible and viable solution. Now coming up to the balances desirability, feasibility and viability. From the beginning, I am continuously telling that using the design thinking process, organizations or the entrepreneurs are able to come up with the viable solutions. So what is viability, what is feasibility and what is desirability? When we talk about the desirability, means what customer wants and for what thing they are willing to pay. Because sometimes what happen, we came up with some kind of product, but consumers are not feeling that we are ready to pay this much amount for this particular product, and they are not find that particular product that much worth. So what will be happening? It's such a waste. So we have to understand the desires of the customers. Second part, feasibility. In feasibility, we have to see whether with the resources which we are available with us, we can implement that particular idea, can we come up with that particular product or the service or not. Then last one is your viability. When we talk about the viability, means sustaining in the market, whether that particular idea which we came up to solve the problem of the customers, it is going to be sustained in the market or not. So when we talk about these three terms, when we are going to implement any idea, we are not directly jumping in the market. First we are doing the staged process which we call design thinking, which helps in the understanding the user needs, and based on that we are coming up with some kind of solutions. So thus it helps in balancing the desirability, feasibility and the viability. And the last one is its focus on the problem reframing. because here what happens after understanding the consumers, rather than giving the general statement, we reframe the problem in such a manner where we are going to understand who is the users, what is their problem, and what is the impact of that particular problem. And for that particular problem, we are going to generate solution, creative or innovative solutions. Now coming up with the evolution of design thinking. In the 90s era, what used to happen, design term was used to refer the craft or aesthetic works. For example, the old heritage buildings we are having, the textile works we are having. So for all those kind of works, we used to use term design. But later on, what happened here, between 1960s to 1980, it became the formal methodology for the scientific analysis, and they integrated some structural tools which are brainstorming, modeling and iteration. Later part, Stanford D School and the IDEO, they focused on the design thinking, and they started design thinking to use for understanding their users. How to understand, they use the design thinking process to understand the emotions, the behaviors or the patterns or the needs of the users. Later part, in 20s, the design thinking was being integrated in the business strategies, where the organizations, or we are adding in the curriculum of the MBA students or the BBA students to understand the entire process and to use that process to understand the user, so that they come up with the feasible idea and viable idea, rather than simply starting their own business with the random ideas. And the last, from 2010s to present, what is happening now, design thinking is being integrated to solve some certain bigger problems, or you can say like the social problems, to come up with the social innovations and the sustainable solutions, or such kind of the healthcare, by integrating the AI and the data analytics. Now, what is the benefit of design thinking? As we mentioned in the first slide, when we are talking about the overview. So here, when we are talking about the human-centered and the empathy-driven. So based on that, what is happening? It is helping in the strong user-centric decision making, because when we are using design thinking process, we are using it to understand the consumers more. So in that phase, what is happening? Whatever the decision we are making to bring some kind of idea, to bring some kind of product or the service, it is all around the users. And again, because we are following some certain tools, or we are following some certain approaches, the idea which we are coming up, it's more creative and innovative, and it reduces the risk of failure. How? Because we are from the beginning till the end, we are going through the experiences and the pain points of the users, and we are testing the product or the service which we are coming as a solutions. As well, it helps in you improving the problem framing skills, where we are not simply mentioning the generalized problem statements, but we are reframing the problems to understand the better users, as well as what is the impact of that particular problem on the users. As we had spoke about here, that it is collaborative and multidisciplinary, thus it is fostering or the collaboration across the teams, where the design teams, your marketing teams, your finance teams, your engineering teams, or the technical teams, all together they are coming together, and they are coming up with the certain solutions, and they are following the entire process. And it helps in accelerating the speed to market. How? Because while we are following the entire process, we are able to reduce the risk of failure, as well as we are able to understand the users much better based on the feedbacks they gave on our prototype. And it helps in innovating the business model, as well as it's a human centric approach. It helps in enhancing the customer experience. Also, it helps in continuous improvement, because it is an iterative approach rather than just a one stage or one step approach. Now we can understand better how the design thinking is helping in balancing the desirability and the viable business solutions by seeing this particular process. In design thinking, what happens? We follow a certain process. In that, first one is your empathize, where we try to understand the users by using some certain models that we will discuss in the further class. And then second is define based on the data which we got from the users, by like whatever the challenges they are facing, whatever the pain points they are having, we based on those data we are again going to utilize some certain tools, and using those tools we are going to redefine the problem statement to understand better what is the exact problem and for which problem we has to come up with the solution. After understanding the problem, we are going to generate the ideas. Again, here we are going to use some certain tools, for example brainstorming, Scamper, these kind of tools we'll use, and we will generate the n number of ideas, and we are going to evaluate also those ideas, and one of the ideas we will take to the next level and we will create the prototype for that particular idea. What is prototype now? Now prototype is the cheaper form of your actual output, whether it's your product or service. So by creating the prototype, what is happening, we are able to come up with the some kind of model, you can say, of your actual product, and using those models we are going to test with the users so that we can get the real feedback from them, and if some kind of inefficiency is there while they are using that particular product or the service, or if some kind of lacking is there, some kind of gap is still there, so based on the users feedbacks we can get those kind of, we can able to identify those gaps and we can refill it, and again as I said, we will continue the entire process by understanding the gap which they mention, and again we will redefine the problem which we faced, and then again. So that's why it's a iterative and the continuous approach. I hope by this particular lecture you are able to understand that design thinking is a human-centered approach where we are focusing on the user's problems, pain points or the challenges they are facing, and for that particular problems we are coming up with the innovative or creative solutions. And while we are going to follow the entire stages or entire process of the design thinking, we are able to like empathize in real with the users, and we can come up with some kind of innovative ideas, as well as it's reducing the failure in the market, as we already testing our product or the service with the customers in the entire design thinking process as in the 5th step. Thank you.